How's it going, guys? My name is Doe, and I hope you're doing good. And I want to discuss the newest escalations, Umbral Behemoth, which is Thrax's weapons, armors, and cells. They're pretty cool. They're really interesting, and I think this is probably the best designed release of this kind of stuff out of all the previous escalations. IMO. But anywho, let's go ahead and cover the fashion aspect first, because as always, fashion is king. It is a true endgame in Dauntless, and there is no exception here. So for the base armor, the look of it, you're going to have a very brutal warrior type-esque just design. And that's in like a really good way. Like, it looks just crazy the way it's designed. You got teeth all over on the chest. The weapons got teeth. It's just bruh. It's just bruh. It's cool. Like, for a baseline armor, it looks amazing. The dye channels, they're unique as well. I will say that on the little scarf bits, the cloth bits, it's got like a weird tint to it, but it's fine if you dye it white. It's very hard to notice it, so there's that little, I guess, cheat code. Now, to go into the Ultra Armor, which, let me tell you what, it's not that different than the base one, but it does add some minor Ultra aspects to it. This is one of those cases where it's cool how they designed it, and I think that the biggest difference might be just the texture. And also that there's a bit more glowy bits, which, as you all know, I'm a glow stick main, so I appreciate that. But yeah, it's just a change in like how some of the textures are designed, and a bit more of a difference in how the glowy bits are shown. So it looks better IMO, but it's not as crazy as we saw with Malkarian, and definitely not as crazy as we saw of a change with Torgadoro stuff, excuse me. But it's still cool. It's still nice. And to go into what the stats are on the armor, let's go ahead and start off with just the overall cell slots. So for the helmet, you have utility. The chest piece, you have technique. The gloves, you have power. And then for the feet, you have technique as well. So these are good slots. Utility isn't the best slot in the world because you have it on your lantern, and then some weapons also have it, but it's not a bad slot either, and especially not bad considering that the stat on the helmet is going to be something called Catalyst. So you get +3 Catalyst once your helmet is +10, and Catalyst, what it does at +6, so the max value for a cell, you get 60% increased effectiveness from tonics, and 60% increased duration from tonics as well. What are tonics? Well, tonics apply to everything that has the label tonic in your potion cabinet, in your pharmaceutical drawer, if you will. And tonics in this game are very freaking potent. You got 100% increased legend duration from all sources, 40% increased stagger damage, increased attack speed, increased damage. Now, Catalyst is nuts. Catalyst will probably be the best utility cell in the game after this, and I don't mean that like a very hyperbole or hyperbole, how people like me would say it, but I don't mean it in a very exaggerating way. I mean it honestly. Like, that's nuts. That is insane value. And I don't mind it being insane in that sense, because the past two cells we got from Escalation weren't crazy by any means. Zeal was the best one so far, and it's not bad. It's just not to this level. 60% increased effectiveness and duration for tonics. That's nuts. So I appreciate the fact that it's going to be something that's useful, and it'll make people want to use it, because that just adds variety to the gameplay. But anyway, moving forward, the chest piece is Thrax's Shadow, and you have +3 Cunning. The gloves, you've got Thrax's Embrace with +3 9 lives. 9 lives isn't a bad cell, and it is used in builds that use Rockfall Scar and weapons, so there is that to keep in mind. And the feet, you also have +3 Cunning. So the chest piece and the feet are pretty much interchangeable in certain builds. Keep that in mind. But Cunning isn't a bad cell in the game. It's not the best, but it's not bad because you can use it in things like Escalation or Shock Escalation rather, and just anytime you have the ability to get brilliant impact. So that's important to keep in mind as well, because that amp is still nuts to this day. It's still bonkers. Now to discuss the weapons. Boy, let's go ahead and go over the look of the weapons. Oh my Lanta, because these are also that brutal, just alien vibe to it. That, like, alien barbarian is what I would describe this as. Honestly, they look sick. They've got a lot of teeth showing. More teeth than me. Okay? Which is a given, but still. It looks pretty cool. And I'll go into all like, prismatic cell slots and all that stuff in a lot of detail in a second, but just to show off all the weapons that they did a really good job with. Like a really good job. And it's kind of nice that they're all purple because you can't dye weapons in Dauntless right now, so purple is a good color IMO, and I do appreciate them all being this like dark purple shade. I kind of wish that the pink handle parts was white, or like a black, I guess, but it's fine. Now, of these weapons, strikers are definitely my favorite just because they look like a Venus flytrap kind of thing, like a Venus flytrap sock puppet. That's how I would describe it. Anyway, to go into detail on how these weapons work, they are a legendary Umbral weapon. So, that's all you should really know. But I'm going to go and explain that because some people still ask me questions and you drive me insane. So, legendary weapons get 3, I believe, unique features. The first one that's very obvious is you have a very unique look to your cell slots. That's because they are prismatic cell slots, or as I like to call it, omni slots, like from WildStar. Prismatic cell slots are things you can slot any cell type into. It does not matter. When you click these, you get to choose from all these lists: defense, power, mobility, technique, utility, and then it gives you like a giant list, which is a lot harder to search through. So definitely choose the actual, I guess, cell family to choose from to pick the cell type. So prismatic slots are cool for that reason. You can use whatever cell type you want, and it's pretty nuts. Now the other thing, or one of the other things, is your bond. This is an Umbral legendary weapon. You can choose any one of the Umbral bonds. In this case, as of right now, there are only 2 other Umbral bonds. You have Riftstalker and you have Shroud. And for Shroud, this is going to be probably the least used bond just because it's very difficult to make use of, and Riftstalker isn't far behind in like actual usefulness, but it's also a lot easier to make use of. So when you use a bond, you get the stat and the unique effect from that bond, which is why they're so useful. So basically, the legendary Umbral weapon is just a more decked out version of the other Umbral weapons. That's the main thing to it. Now, the last thing the Umbral weapon gives, or a legendary weapon gives you, is a legendary ability. In this case, the ability is insanely cool. So you press your legendary ability button. I don't know what you freaking Switch nerds, console players got. On PC, it's a G, because we're OGs. But you press the button to deal damage to nearby enemies and teleport high into the sky. Then choose a spot to slam down onto, dealing additional Umbral damage, usable once, but resets on Behemoth kill. This is fun. Like, you feel like it's awesome when you have mechanics that are useful, for one, and just very flashy when you pull it off. Like, those are 2 giant mechanics into making something enjoyable for me to use. And this is useful, and it is insanely flashy to do. It's an ability you can use to interrupt behemoths. I think it does a little bit of stagger damage. I'm not exactly too sure on that, but in any case, it's really fun to use. It has some okay range to it, and you can also use it to sort of dodge an attack if you have like no stamina and you react fast enough. That is also a possibility, but the main thing here is to interrupt behemoths to look really flashy and just interesting and cool in that sort of light. So very cool ability, and I kind of wish that this kind of like, I wish that legendary abilities were on a cooldown rather than a sort of a reset thing where it would be on like a timer instead of being, hey, kill a behemoth to reset this. That to me would be a bit more interesting to make these even more, like, not overpowered, but just more useful, right? More meaningful. Because just using this one time during like a single hunt in like a pursuit or patrol, it's not really that fulfilling, although it's still cool. So these are cool. I appreciate it. It's pretty nice. But overall, that is going to be that's the Randall's, Thrax, or Drax, whatever you call it. That's the armor, the weapons, and the cell of this behemoth. So hopefully this helped you in some way. If it did, make sure to like, because it helps you out a freaking ton. And if you guys want to, make sure to use my credit code, which is OhDough in the Epic Games Store or the in-game Dauntless store when making purchases. It helps me out a ton at no extra cost to you. These codes do expire every 14 days, so just make sure make sure it says someone's name, like you're supporting X person. And make sure you're supporting someone because there's no reason not to. But that's about it, y'all. Oh, wait, one more thing. If you guys want to, check out my stream. I stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/OhDough. That's my name. I play a lot of games there, mostly Dauntless, but once I finish my PC, which is in the bottom right corner of my room, wherever direction this is, then I'll be playing some Apex probably. But yeah, check it out. And in any case, thank y'all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.